Welcome, welcome! It's Mud Dog with the Texas Space Navy bringing you another Star Citizen video. I hope you guys liked the video from yesterday. I know a few of you did. It doesn't look like a whole lot of you got to watch it, but that's okay. I really do appreciate all of you who have, and I appreciate all of you who contribute to the channel. So thank you to my Patreon and YouTube members. If you guys want to be members of those organizations or those groups too, that information is going to be in the description of the video. So today is going to be all about the Imperator election. So we've been hearing about this from really, I guess, CitizenCon last year. They talked about having this Imperator election because it happens every 10 years. So the Imperator is there for 10 years once they get elected. And this one was narrowed down to 10, I guess, early in the year, and then 5 a little bit later in the year, like probably like May or April, something like that. And there were some interesting, you know, politicians and non-politicians involved, including, you know, a couple of senators. Then you also had the Imperator's secretary and the Imperator's son, and then you had the, I guess, scientist education person. And the one who won was the scientist education person, Laylani Addison. Now, personally, that's not the one I voted for. But there's plenty of people in my org that did, and evidently, if the numbers are correct that I've seen, a lot of people voted for Addison, which is a little scary because, well, I know this is a game, but the amount of UEE funds or taxes that are going to have to be raised, or you know, programs that money is going to be taken out of in order to fund her science agenda, could definitely bankrupt an already going bankrupt empire. So we definitely have to worry about that in the coming few years. Then there was a nice little article today that came out on the RSI website, which is kind of funny actually, that talks about, you know, how in the world did Addison rise in popularity and come out of nowhere, literally a year before, nobody knew who she was, and become the Imperator-Elect? Well, she was brought up with pretty much Xi'an neighbors. So some people are worried that she's a Xi'an plant. I don't think that's accurate, and neither does the writer of the article. But she's heavily influenced by Xi'an thinking, which could be good because Xi'an think very long term and they're very much into science. So that part could be interesting and not so bad. But again, you know, how do you pay for those, you know, those initiatives and stuff? And if she is influenced by the Xi'an, could they somehow influence her enough to bankrupt the empire? Leave the gates open, so to speak. Let the floodgates come in and let all the Xeno threats, if you will, that's kind of a pun, I guess, because there is a Xeno threat in the game, but let all the Xenos come in and pretty much eliminate the human empire, because there's not going to be enough funds for military. There is, you know, the militia act or whatever, but that was supported by Costigan, and I don't think Addison's going to have the same support for it. So if you guys are, you know, running PMCs, you know, paramilitary companies, then you might have something else to worry about. Or maybe that's who she's going to tax. You ever think about that? She might be taxing the hard-working paramilitary corps. So that could definitely happen. Again, something we have to be aware of, something we have to worry about. You know, what is the possibility of that happening? Now, the other thing that they talk about in the article is, you know, she had to have had somebody behind, you know, behind her rise, her meteoric rise. You know, Synth World is a big deal to her. She really wants to put a lot of time, energy, and money into Synth World, and then she wants to sell off all the new technologies that are discovered from it to who? Big corporations. Now, in her campaign, she campaigned about how she never accepted funds from the big corporations. Well, that's fine. That's great. But who's going to benefit from the selling off of all this great technology? The big corporations. Because they're the only ones that's going to be able to afford it. Be able to afford to buy it. Be able to afford to do something with it. It's going to be the big corps. So could big corporations really have had something to do with her campaign in order to get the new technology and benefit from it? I mean, that's definitely a possibility and something to think about, isn't it? Honestly, that's not something I really thought a whole lot on until I read that article, and that made me think, oh, well, that's definitely a huge possibility. And, oh yeah, I should mention that in this video, yes, I'm dogfighting using a caterpillar versus cutlasses. That's happening. It definitely is happening. I don't recommend it at home because it's not very great, but I thought it'd be fun, maybe a little funny as well. Yeah, go dogfight with your caterpillar. See how it works out. Thank God I was only going against a couple of cutties. Anyways, I digress. Back to Laylani Addison. So, what is the real... Who is really pulling the strings behind the candidate? One of the things that the article did mention is that he knew what he was getting with the other candidates. He knew who they were beholden to, like, you know, who pretty much had them in their pocket, what corporate interest, you know, they were mostly geared towards. Whereas with Addison, he did not know the answer to that. He just knows somebody else is pulling the strings. And so that's what he fears the most, because he fears that there's going to be, there's nothing but chaos in the future. So in January, when she takes office, nobody has a clue what she's going to do. You know, in the U.S. here, they talk about the first 100 days. The first 100 days after a president gets elected are some of the most important for their legacy. What can they get done in 100 days? Or how much can they get done in 100 days? I imagine it's very much the same with the Imperator. What is she going to do in the first 100 days? What's her cabinet going to look like? Who is she putting in those places of power, those places that are going to be able to influence policy all across the empire? You know, she's interested in the synth world stuff and trying to sell off those technologies. Is she going to do it right off the bat? I mean, that would really show her colors, if you ask me. Is she going to open up more inroads for the Banu and the Xi'an? Is she going to try to have more of a peaceful stance with the Vanduul? I mean, the Vanduul, who we've been at war with, you know, what's going to happen? A Xi'an, who we just kind of had finished you know, the Cold War part of, you know, our relationship with them. What's the plan here? What is she going to do? I don't think anybody knows, and it's going to be interesting to see how CIG manufacture the narrative going forward. Obviously, there's a number of candidates out of those 5 that could have had some interesting politics and policies and you know, fallacies as well. It could have been interesting with just about any of them, you know, if they were to become the Emperor. You know, Ingo, she could have made the capital Terra. That could have been an interesting turn of things. Would the Empire have fractured and had a civil war? Or maybe, you know, if Costigan became Imperator, would that mean that, you know, the militia project would have taken off? And you know, what did it mean? And what about the senator? I can't even remember her name now, but she was corrupt as could be, and you could tell. I mean, what if she gotten the Imperator office? So whoever it is there for 10 years. And here's another thought. Maybe Addison's in there because somebody else who is kind of pulling the strings is going to be like her second in command. And what happens if an Imperator gets assassinated? Has that ever happened? I mean, who takes charge? Do they have another election? I'm not sure I really know that, and honestly, haven't looked it up. But what happens? So if Addison ends up getting assassinated, God forbid, what's the next step? Who's going to be in place? Again, questions that I don't have answers for, and nobody does other than maybe CIG. What do you guys think? Do you think we're going off the deep end here? Are we going down too many rabbit holes? I know there's a lot of you who do support Addison. And, I mean, has any of the topics I've brought up or the questions I've brought up made you question your pick a little bit? You know, are you wondering if Addison was the right choice? Or are you wondering if she is really beholden to somebody else? Or do you even care? I mean, some of you maybe think, oh, that's politics. I know there's plenty of people out there that would say that. Oh, that's politics. They're all crooked. I guess we're going to have to find out. It's going to be an interesting ride over the next few years, obviously, the game and the narrative. Because this is the narrative we are going to play in, the universe we're going to play in. So, very interested to see what's going to happen. I will probably put some sort of statement out for Texas, the org, on, you know, who we were hoping to be in, etc. What we thought would have been best for the org itself. You know, kind of maybe role play it a little bit. We'll see. Thank you again for watching my videos. You guys are really awesome. I really do appreciate it. It means the world to me that you guys are interested in what I'm putting out there. I'm going to continue trying to get it out on a regular basis. So thank you very much. Also, IAE is coming up. So for you guys who haven't pledged to the game and you're interested in pledging to the game, I say you might want to wait till the IAE comes out. You never know what ship you might want to get to be your first. They'll probably have some discounted starter packs and all that. I would definitely appreciate it if you use my referral code in the description of the video when you do sign up. It helps me out. You get bonus 5,000 credits in game. It's just a win-win for everybody. So I would definitely appreciate that. And with that, I'm Mud Dog with the Texas Space Navy, and I'll see you out in the verse.